to play with this. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is pause for people, right? And I need to make sure that you talk plenty loud enough.
I can't deal with that voice.
You can't deal with what?
Your funny voice.
Oh,
okay.
my funny voice. Am I being funny? Okay. You are Kyria Henry.
Yes.
You are. Tell me what you do. Tell me your story, Kyria. Just real quick, kind of.
And when I was 12, about 10 years ago,
more like 3, I think.
I think so. I started Pause for People inadvertently using my first dog. Trained him myself, took him to nursing homes, hospices, and it has since snowballed into a big evolution of 9 states and 150 volunteers and 100 dogs.
150 volunteers? Mm-hmm. You know, when we talked about that organization thing, are they all on a chart somewhere?
No.
Holy cow. Okay, so what do you mean you trained a dog? What do you mean you trained him? Tell me what you mean.
I trained him.
How'd you train him? How'd you know what to do?
Well, I was forced to. She doesn't want to be.
I know she doesn't.
No, it's all about her.
No, yeah, but you can be in there. I can cut you out if we need to. Okay.
Okay.
Train. How did you train him? At 12 years old. Who knows? What kid 12 years old
Well, I
knows?
was 9 when I got him.
Okay.
My parents forced me to be the responsible kid. Most kids have to do that for a month or 2, and then they get to just go back to being a kid. But it was my dog for real. So I went to training classes after school, middle school. That was my pastime. I learned how to train all different sorts of ways and methodologies, and kind of found what I liked in amongst there, and went from there.
Okay. No, see, that's something I never knew.
I didn't know that either. That's good.
Yep. So so you began then by actually training.
Right.
Okay.
It was trial by fire.
It always is, no matter what you're doing. Okay, and so the first experience of people then, where'd that come from?
A family friend of ours was a coordinator at a nursing home, and I'm an only child, and I'm used to a really big spotlight in my family. Only child, only grandchild. So I started to notice when we'd go visit my grandparents, it was a different dynamic with the dog being there, and it wasn't all about me anymore.
What do you mean? Oh, okay, because it wasn't about you.
It wasn't all about me. So I realized that the dog brought out things in people that I didn't know they could. So I decided that everyone who can't have a dog should get to know what it's like to have a dog, and demanded that my parents take me to the nursing homes. And that's kind of it all went uphill from there.
Tell me what happened with the nursing homes. Why? What was the effect? Tell us a story. You go into a nursing home. Tell a story.
I remember one woman who was talking to my dog. His name was Riley, and she kept calling him Ben, I think it was, or Benji. Benji blurs in my head. And at first I kept trying to tell her, no, this is Riley. And then I started just listening, and she had reverted back and thought she was talking to her old dog that she had to leave when she went to the nursing home. And for us to leave was horrible. I mean, she was crying like she was leaving him again. And I was very young, and that was just kind of horrible for me.
Traumatic.
Very traumatic. But then I realized that's something that she hadn't been able to remember, or that she hadn't been able to maybe even have that much emotion. And people would light up, or people would talk, and the employees would say, they never talk to us. You know, all day, every day, they won't say a word, no matter what we do. And people would just be completely different people when they could just talk to the dog, pet the dog. They didn't care that I was there holding his leash. They didn't care at all. And that was eye-opening for me, to be that selfless and realize that it's okay that they don't care that I'm here, because this is a part of their day when they can just be happy, and maybe otherwise they weren't. So that's kind of, I was hooked from there.
How long did you go to? So you started out, so about 12 you started going to?
I trained him, it was probably 2 years old before I could even take him anywhere. And then over that year, and then when, I guess it was, I don't understand. I'm losing my own mind. Train him until he was 2, and then we could start going places. And then the concept of Pause for People emerged when I was 12, when other people also started wanting.
You actually
Us to
coined
go
the
other
phrase "Pause for People"?
In 1999.
Really? That long ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You came up with that? Just
I don't really remember the story of where it came from. It just kind of was. I mean, that's all kind of a blur now.
So how long did you do the... Tell me about your next dog. Because obviously I heard, you got more dogs. How many dogs now?
Well, right now we have around 100.
100 dogs.
But...
Do you know their names?
Yeah.
Are they on the chart?
They're on a chart.
Okay, good.
There's a lot of numbers on it.
It is.
I begged, borrowed, and stole to get my second dog, which turned into being my second and third dog because the breeder had one leftover puppy. So I came home with 2 puppies.
Okay.
Which
your mom loved.
my mom loved. And then it was 3. So in 2003, it was my dad and I and 3 dogs, and we were asked by another family friend, who's an occupational therapist in high school, to see if we could motivate her students. They wouldn't fulfill their IEP goals. They didn't have
IEP.
individualized education plan goals.
Okay.
In a special education classroom.
Okay. So this wasn't just a normal. This was a special ed.
Severe, profound special education classroom.
Okay. Kids in wheelchairs. Kids in.
Most of them had physical disabilities.
Okay.
In conjunction with cognitive delays as well. So
Wait. In conjunction with what?
Cognitive delays.
Okay. So they were. Okay. So people would.
Profound.
Right. Okay.
So, that was eye-opening for me because that was probably my first relationship with disability.
You've never been around kids like that.
Not really.
You know what? I have a lot of trouble still with that.
Yeah.
Most people are. They're very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Dogs are not.
No.
They know.
Yeah. And the first year the kids had to get permission to be bused off-site to do it at a school property, but it wasn't a school, it was an administrative property as a pilot program.
So they brought the kids to you? Okay.
And
Now, how old are you now? 2002, you'd be 16. 1999, you were 12. 2002 is 4 years. 3 years, you'd be 15.
Yeah, I was I think it was a freshman in high
15,
school.
okay.
That would relate because it was my students from my high school.
Okay. Cool.
And I would leave on my study hall break, and my dad would leave on an extended lunch break from his corporate job, and we just started seeing what we could do. We didn't know what we could do, but we were willing to try. And some of the children's IEP goals were to do things maybe with their right hand, whereas otherwise they would do everything with their left hand. So to do activities, so brushing the dog, throwing the ball for the dog, getting up out of their chair, which they were able to do, but had no reason to do,
right,
and walk the dog. And every single student in that class exceeded their IEP goals for that year.
Good for you.
And the school board's eyes kind of opened, and they said, you have full access to Loudoun County Public Schools. Any teacher who would like to incorporate you in their classroom, you have our blessing. So at that point, it was myself and my dad and 3 dogs.
But nobody's paying you.
No.
You're good. You're volunteering all of this. School board didn't offer.
No.
Okay. Parents of the kids didn't offer.
No.
Okay.
We have a lot of parents that have made donations.
Have helped, sure. Yeah.
And then we kind of opened it up to other people who said, hey, I think my dog can do that. And a lot of times they're wrong, but a lot of times they're right. Their dog can do that to some capacity. A special education classroom, a hospice environment, very foreign concepts to most dogs. I mean, the smells, the sounds,
sure,
maybe the grab reflex, maybe the kicking, maybe some loud noises, things like that. So it's not like just because your dog is good at home, you can go there.
Right.
So it doesn't work that way. So we worked with a trainer in our area to come up with an evaluation protocol, so now every dog that wants to come in is evaluated, and it's a yes or no. And then we've created a volunteer handler protocol where they have to go through a certain amount of supervised visits, and then before they can visit on their own and make their own schedule. So that's where a lot of our dogs and volunteer numbers come from, is people who are using their own dogs, so to speak, get certified by us and visit with,
doing what you did.
Right.
Okay. And do you have a list of people who like call you up today and go, we'd love to have you come? How does that work?
We do have places that are on a waiting list, but until we have volunteers in their area. But also our volunteers are encouraged to explore the realm that they would like to work in. Some like to do programs in libraries, so they go approach their local library inside a program, or we haven't visited this elementary school, but it's near where they live, so they contact the elementary school. So they kind of set up their own schedules independently and just report to us. We have a form that they send to us every time they make a visit, where, when, how many contacts they made, all that stuff.
Who manages that part of the program?
We have one person in each state that has that sort of operation, that is in charge for the direct contact with those volunteers, and then those directors answer to my dad.
Okay. Who's Terry Henry? Right, okay. So this went on, you're visiting kids, you're visiting, at the same time you're still doing senior citizens homes, or did you start going more towards kids?
I did both. I spent all of my high school, my grandparents would drop off a dog when it was time for my study hall, and I would go to a visit or drive down the street to elementary school and do a visit, and then they'd pick them back up, and then I'd finish my school day. And then I'd do sports, and then on the weekends I would go to a nursing home or wherever.
Okay. So you get out of school. Did the dog graduate with you? Did you take him up graduation with you? Did you take him to the party after graduation, Kyria?
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, poor dog. Okay. And then so you went to school, went to college.
So I was off to college, which was just always kind of a given in my family. I was going to go to college, so that was the next thing. I didn't really know where Foster People would go from there, but my senior year of high school, my dad had quit his full-time job to run Foster People full-time, so it was kind of, he was going to manage the operations, which were at that time just in Virginia. I mean, it was many volunteers in Virginia, but still just Virginia.
But there's still no money coming in.
Just private donations.
Just some donations, okay.
And I was going to go to school and basically see what life held. I knew, it's funny to say in retrospect that I knew I wanted to do Pause for People as my career, because looking back at what Pause for People was in 2005, what would I have done compared to now when it's so huge? But
right.
But that was my goal, was that I was going to do something as this for my career. I didn't want your normal office job or anything like that. So I set off to get a business degree, which soon became changing my major. But while I was in school, I was approached by a program through school that takes care of the volunteer hours for students who need to do volunteer hours for their major. And there was a federal prison up the road that wanted to start a dog program, and they said, will you do our dog program? And
so the school knew about your history then. They're coming
Right.
to you because of your history.
I did have some dogs that were in training living with me,
Okay.
and I had some students who needed volunteer hours helping me to socialize them, so that
Okay.
was the small connection that led to
Okay.
them saying, the prison was approaching them to get some grad students to teach creative writing and art classes up at the prison, and just mentioned wanting a dog program, and they said, we know that person. So that was just another one of those things that kind of
Kind of fits.
I'm on a path.
Yep.
Everything's put in my path for a reason, and that's just one of those things that really doesn't make any sense, but it makes perfect sense at the same time.
Yep.
It's just something that happened, and we said, we don't have the time to run a prison program, we don't have the money, we don't know how, we've never done it, it's not what we do. I mean, that was our initial reaction.
Ours being yours and your dad's?
Yes.
Okay.
And we started to research them online, which are mostly in state prisons. And they were saying how the inmates who had been in the program have like a 0 recidivism rate for this one program.
A what rate?
At West. Recommitting a crime. prison.
So they come out and stay good. They come out and they're rehabilitated. Really?
Right.
Gotcha. Well, that's a big deal, isn't it? Yeah, that's a huge
So we
deal.
thought if we could train one extra dog and we can help one inmate, then we're just moving our mission forward and let's give it a try. Like, that's
And train the dog to do what? What would
kind
you
of
do
our
with the
mentality.
dog in prison?
when we started the prison program is when we started training service dogs.
What's a service dog?
So rather than being a type of assistance dog who visits a lot of people, such as the dog's special education classrooms or nursing homes or hospices, service dog is assigned to one individual and it's
So
customized for that person.
I got you. So a service dog is much higher trained, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay.
And we kind of started that mission at the same time because another person fell into our life who had just returned from learning how to train those kind of dogs in California. And she came onto our training staff and it all kind of launched at the same time. So
While you're getting your business degree.
While I'm getting my business degree. That was before I changed my degree. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we started the prison program with
Tell me about the first time you went into the prison.
You never know what to expect. Like, everyone thinks they expect something, but they can't really describe what they were expecting. But then you come out saying it's not what you expected.
Sure.
It was strange to have that sally port close behind you on one end and you're like locked in and all you see out the window is barbed wire. And you just have your little dog on a leash and you're like, what am I doing? Where am I going?
Were you there by yourself?
No.
Did your dad go with you?
I'm sure it was my dad and probably our other trainer, Heidi,
Okay.
too.
Okay.
And waltzed in, and they're all in, in khaki uniforms, and
You're in a room in front, and they put you in front of a room in front of the inmates?
Yeah, and
Male or female?
This prison was female. Our
Female,
first prison.
okay.
And briefed what we were going to do, what the program's going to be. This is after obviously a lot of administrative and
Sure.
logistical talks
Setting up.
with the
Sure.
And if you want to join, here's the application, and we'll be back in a week to interview. And it all started rolling from there. We first put 4 dogs in.
Oh, wait now. Slow down. What were you doing? What were they going to do? What would these female inmates do?
There is an academic program that teaches about dog safety, dog health, dog psychology, how dogs learn, different training methods, why some work, dog personalities. Dogs have personality profiles
Sure.
too, and different types, dog breeds, disability studies. So to learn about the clients that they would be training the dogs for. And
There's what I'm trying to. So there,
are.
you actually are teaching. You were teaching female inmates how to train dogs,
So
and by doing that, it's actually rehabilitating the inmates. Okay. Okay. So that first week, then you came back. How many people had applied?
I don't remember.
All of them? A big number?
Maybe in the 50 range. The prison gets the first veto power as far as what their charges are, their history, if they're on meds, if they're going to psych, all that kind of stuff. And then we see the good pool that's left over, and then we choose from there. So
And how many did you choose that first time?
started with 16 inmates.
16. So you brought 16 dogs into the prison?
4 dogs.
16 people training 4 dogs. Okay.
And then it was soon up to 8 dogs, which made all the inmates be assigned to a dog because there's 2 inmates per dog. A dog
Okay.
to a cell, 2 inmates to a dog.
Okay. And tell me a story from, down the road, a dog, 2 inmates. Tell me a story.
The one interview I remember because I've done so many now, and there's one of those first ones that I remember, and it's an inmate named Gemma, and she was so meek and mild and barely made eye contact, and she said, I've never had a dog, never tried to train a dog. All these people talk about unconditional love and how you get so attached. I don't think I'll get attached. I just need something good to do here. I have kids, and I need them to know I'm doing something good, and I'm trying to use my time here to be better for them, and I'll work hard for you. She's now our lead inmate trainer. She's been in the prison for a long time, and this has really changed her. That I remember her bonding with that first dog. I remember her the dogs move from place to place throughout their training so that they get socialization, all that sort of thing. And I remember just a few weeks in, when we brought in the next set of 4 dogs, we switched her dog around so she had a different one, and she cried and
Trouble.
cried.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't going to get attached, and she didn't think that they had emotions, and
Yeah.
she didn't think that you would love them like a child. And that's what it is that changes the inmates. It's not
Love.
It's not teaching to turn on lights. It's not reading a book about training theory. It's just that they have to take care of something, and that it's bigger than themselves, and they can't be selfish anymore, because no one's in prison if they're not ultimately selfish. Despite the fact that they had a family, they had kids, that we live in a society that should be upheld, they did something horrible that got them in there, and it all comes down to being selfish. And they can't be, if you stay in our program for a length of time and don't get kicked out for doing something wrong, you're not selfish anymore. You can't be.
That's pretty powerful, isn't it?
It is. It really is. When we first went in there, we kind of had the mindset that they're going to be our free labor. They're our training staff. They're to help us get more dogs out to the people who need them. And our emphasis was on those clients, but it does just as much for the inmates. I mean, within just a few weeks, our perspective on that was turned around.
And you're still going to school.
Hmm?
And you're still going to school.
Me?
Well, no, I mean,
Oh.
through all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Every single day is
Okay.
something
Yeah.
new.
And so, all right, so now you're back into this thing pretty full time.
Yes.
Sounds like. Okay. And
Very quickly that happened.
all right, so how many prisons are you in now?
5,
5. How many states?
9.
9. Wait a minute. How can you be in 5 prisons in 9 states?
Well, the
That
5
doesn't.
prisons are in 2 states. Pause for people as operations. in
Okay,
9.
so you got 5 prisons in 2 states, all female inmates.
No.
Now you got male inmates. You working with those too?
Yes.
That's interesting, isn't it? Is it different?
Different dynamic, because there was a team at every prison. The dog program, those people are on a team. They all have their own dog, but there's team dynamics, helping each other, all that sort of thing. The team dynamics go a lot smoother at a male facility.
Yeah.
It's a lot less drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
But what they get out of it and what they put in it is the same.
Yeah.
For
Did-
me, going in there, it's the same.